nagliyab ang isang motorsiklo sa kahabaan ng isang highway sa Vietnam.
Nakaligtas naman kaya ang driver na motorsiklo? Kamustahin po natin ang kalagayan ng driver mula sa mga detalye ng balitang ibabahagi maya-maya. Magandang gabi. Ako po si Rikki Mathay.
Ako si Rikki, Alagao, Flores. Ito ang mata ng Agila International. Para naman sa mga headlines ngayong araw ng Huwebes.
Bilang ng tambay na Pinoy, bumaba sa 1.63 million nitong Disyembre.
Maximum suggested retail price sa karneng baboy pinag-aaralan ng Agriculture Department.
Prime Minister Pai Tong-Tarn Shinawat at Chinese President Xi Jinping nagpulong sa Beijing.
Honda at Nissan tatapusin na ang planong merger.
At katlong bersyon ng Grok AI malapit nang ilabas ng X. Bumaba po ang bilang ng mga tambay o yung mga walang trabaho sa Pilipinas noong December 2024 ayon po yan mismo sa Labor Force Survey ng Philippine Statistics Authority o PSA.
Paliwanag ng ahensya, bunsod ito ng mas mataas na demand sa trabaho tuwing December holidays. Iniulat naman ni National Statistician Dennis Mapa na bumagsak sa 1.63 milyon ang bilang ng mga Pilipinong walang trabaho, edad 15 pataas. Mas mababa ito sa naitalang 1.66 million noong November 2024. Kaakibat nito ay bumaba ang unemployment rate ng Pilipinas sa 3.1% mula sa 3.2% noong November 2024. Sa buong 2024, may estimated na 1.94 million ang bilang ng mga Pilipinong walang trabaho kung saan ay mas mababa ito kumpara sa 2.19 million na naitala noong 2023.
Target namang magpatupad ang Department of Agriculture ng tinatawag pong maximum suggested retail price sa karneng baboy. Katulad rin ng ginawa sa imported rice para mapanatili umano ang patas na presyo ng mga ito sa merkado. Inihayag ni Agriculture Assistant Secretary Arnel de Mesa na masusing pinag-aaralan pa ng ahensya kung magkano ang itatakdang presyo ng maximum SRP at kailan ito maipatutupad. Kahit anya nakarecover na ang industriya ng baboy mula sa African swine fever outbreak noong third quarter ng taong 2024, nananatiling mataas pa rin ang presyo nito sa mga pamilihan. Batay naman sa datos ng Agriculture Department, pumapalo sa 480 pesos ang presyo kada kilo ng liempo at 420 pesos ang presyo kada kilo ng pige. Nilinaw din ni De Mesa na kahit nasa 220 hanggang 240 pesos ang farm gate price ng karneng baboy, ay umaabot naman ito sa 450 hanggang 460 pesos kapag ibebenta na sa palengke, na isang pahayag anya ng hindi makatarungang pagtakda ng presyo.
Na-recover ng National Bureau of Investigation na NBI ang higit pang mga pinaniniwalaang spy equipment mula sa condominium unit ni Deng Yuanqing, ang Chinese national na inaresto dahil sa umano'y pagkakasangkot sa isang espionage operation sa Pilipinas. Nasamsam ng mga otoridad ang iba't ibang device katulad ng laptop, computer, external drive, router at modem na posibleng nagamit para sa remote access at data extraction. Ayon kay NBI Special Task Force Executive Officer Marlon Marcelo, na-recover din sa unit ng Chinese national ang mga IDs, pasaporte at deposit slips na may bawat transaksyon ay nasa halagang milyong piso. Sa ilalim naman sa forensics investigation ng mga nakumpiskang kagamitan para matukoy ang kapabilidad nito sa intelligence gathering. Si Deng at mga kasamahan nitong dalawang Pinoy ay inaresto noong January 17 sa loob ng isang sasakyan na naglalaman ng mga high-tech devices na hinihinalang ginamit sa espionage. Minomonitor umano nila ang mga lokasyon ng mga kampo ng militar at ilang Enhanced Defense Cooperation Agreement sites sa buong Pilipinas.
Nag-alok ang South Korean Embassy sa Pilipinas ng 18 slots para sa mga Pilipinong aplikante sa ilalim po yan ng 2025 Global Korea Scholarship Program. Layo ng programang itong bigyang oportunidad ang mga dayuhang estudyanteng makapag-aral sa mga universidad sa South Korea. Simula February 5 hanggang March 1, tatanggap ang Korean Embassy ng mga aplikasyon para sa graduate degree programs sa ilalim ng Embassy Track. Saklaw po ng scholarship na ito ang 1 taong Korean language training, 2 taon para sa master's degree, 3 taon para sa doctoral program o 6 na buwan hanggang 1 taon para sa research studies. Wala namang babayaran ang mga matatanggap na aplikante katulad ng tuition fee, Korean language fee at iba pa dahil bahala na umano ang gobyerno ng South Korea sa pagpondo nito. Para sa karagdagang impormasyon ay maaaring bisitahin ang website ng Korean Embassy.
Pinalawig ni Pangulong Ferdinand Marcos Jr. ng 4 na buwan ang termino ni Philippine National Police Chief Police General Romel Francisco Marbil. Epektibo ito sa February 7, 2025 na siyang araw din ang pagreretiro ng police official. Ayon sa memorandum na nilagdaan ni Executive Secretary Lucas Bersamin, inaprubahan ng Pangulo ang pagpapalawig ng serbisyo ni Marbil kahit lampas na siya sa mandatory retirement age na 56. Mula rito ay nagpasalamat si Marbil sa tiwalang ibinigay ng Pangulo at nangako itong gagamitin niya ang dagdag na panahon para higit pang pagbutihin ang paghahanda para sa May 12 midterm polls. Sa ilalim kasi ng Executive Order No. 136 Series of 1999, may kapangyarihan ng Pangulo na pahabain ang serbisyo ng kanyang mga itinalagang opisyal kahit lampas na sa retirement age. Si Marbil ay ika-30 PNP Chief at miyembro ng Philippine Military Academy sa Bisig Class of 1991.
Tinugis naman ng Manila Police District ang isang gusali sa Barangay 310, Maynila kung saan umano'y ginagawa at inililimbag ang mga peking persons with disability o PWIDs. Nalaman ng pulisya na ang ginagawang mga peking PWD-ID ay may pirma ng mga alkalde mula sa Quezon City, Maynila, Pasig, Muntinlupa at Angat sa Bulacan. Nadiskubre rin ng pulisya ang isang computer at printer na ginagamit sa fabrication ng peking ID. Sa investigasyon ng otoridad, naglalaro sa 3 hanggang 6,000 piso kada araw ang kita na mismong tagagawa ng peking ID. Habang nasa 100 hanggang 500 piso naman ang kada araw na kita ng isang fixer. Makaharap sa mga reklamong paglabag sa falsification of public documents ang mga inarestong suspect.
Ipinaliwanag ni Pangulong Ferdinand Marcos Jr. na walang choice ang House of Representatives maging ang Senado kundi proseso ang Articles of Impeachment o AOI laban kay Vice President Sara Duterte. Kasunod dito ay pinabulaanan din ng Pangulo na may basbas siya sa pag-usad ng reklamong impeachment. Anya, ginawa lamang ng Kamara ang constitutional mandate nito na intransmit ang AOI sa Senado.
Once the impeachment complaints were filed, the House and the Senate, they have no choice. Nakatali na ang kamay nila. They have to do this. And they have to do it in recognition of the complaints that have been filed. So yun ang nangyari ngayon. And that's why we have come to this point where the House has transmitted already the impeachment complaint to the Senate. We have heard some of the statements made by the Senate President as to how he is planning to handle it. So we will have to see because it is many, as you've heard before, and that we heard many times during the Corona trial, these impeachment trials are sui generis. And therefore, we have to be very clear how the rules are and how it will be conducted. Yun ang naalala ko because I was also in the House and I was in the Senate during the Corona trial. Kaya meron I have some understanding do sa mga procedure. But anyway, that's the way I see it. That's the way that happened. No, the executive cannot have a hand in the impeachment. Walang role ang executive sa impeachment. Of course, did we discuss it with the Speaker? Did we discuss it with the other congressmen? Of course.
Para sa Pangulo, hindi raw niya itinuturing na isang pagsuway ang ginawa ng Kamara kahit na nga ilang beses na niyang sinabi na hindi siya pabor na i-impeach si VP Sara. Dati nang sinabi ni Marcos Jr. na ang impeachment ay hindi mapapabuti ang buhay ng kahit na isang Pilipino. Sa kabila nito ay napansin ng marami na unang lumagda sa impeachment laban sa Bise, si Presidential son and Senior Deputy Majority Leader at Ilocos Representative Sandro Marcos. Inamin naman ni Pangulong Marcos Jr. na pinayuhan niya si Sandro at pinaalala kung ano ang tungkulin nito bilang kongresista. Pero hindi raw niya alam na ang unang pipirma sa impeachment complaint ay ang kanyang anak.
No. I'm sure that the parties that filed the impeachment cases felt strongly about it, and despite my importunings and expressing my opinion that we really would rather not have the impeachment, they continue to do that. So it's not defiance. May ganyan ang kanilang paniniwala. Sa kanilang paniniwala, kailangan gawin ito. Kahit na sinabi ko na sana wag na, hindi pwede, hindi namin pwedeng palampasin ito. Ganun ang thinking nila. So tinuloy nila. And I don't view that as a defiance. I view that as they're expressing what they feel to be right. So sabi ko, andyan tayo, sabi ko kay Kong Sandro, sabi ko sa kanya, the process has already begun. So it's your duty now to support that process. So do your duty. That's what I told him. Do your duty. You have to support the process. You are constitutionally mandated to carry out that process. And you are a congressman, so do your duty. That's what I told him. I didn't know you'd be the first to sign, though.
Matapang na kinwestiyon ng kapatid ni Pangulong Ferdinand Marcos Jr. na si Senator Amy Marcos ang impeachment laban kay Vice President Sara Duterte. Inamin ng senadora na nagalit siya dahil sa reklamong ito at nangakong lalabanan ang impeachment hanggang sa huli. Nakakahiya rin anya na sa dami ng problema ay destabilisasyon at impeachment pa raw ba ang solusyon? Sa halip anya na mag-aksaya ng oras sa mga isyong hindi nakatutulong sa bayan, ay dapat anyang tutukan ang mga tunay na problema ng mga mamamayang Pilipino, kagaya ng matataas na presyo ng mga bilihin at ng bigas, ang kawalan ng trabaho at mababang sahod, ang kakulangan ng suporta para sa mga magsasaka, mga PWDs, seniors at iba pang sektor ng lipunan. Samantala, sinabi ni Senate President Francis Cheese Escudero na walang mangyayaring impeachment trial sa Senado laban kay VP Sara habang nakabreak ang sesyon ng dalawang kapulungan ng Kongreso. Hindi rin anya sila maaaring mag-convene bilang impeachment court at manumpa bilang mga judge habang naka-recess ang Kongreso. Sinabi rin ni Escudero na hindi makatarungan na biglang ipinasa sa kanila ng Kamara ang Articles of Impeachment sa mismong huling araw ng sesyon. Gate pa ng Senador, hindi pwedeng madaliin ang anumang paglilitis.
The impeachment complaint was not referred to plenary for there to be a basis for the impeachment court to be convened by the Senate sitting as a legislative body, hindi muna as an impeachment court. Hindi naman siguro makatarungan o tama na pagkatapos nilang upuan ito ng ilang buwan, biglang pwersahin, pipilitin at sasabihan kami ng sino mang galing sa Kamara na, hoy, bilisan nyo, aksyonan nyo, ano ba kayo? Hindi ganon at hindi ako papayag din nun. Ang impeachment process para sa akin, hindi mahalaga kung pabor kayo o kontra, hindi mahalaga kung ma-acquit o ma-convict. Ang mahalaga para sa akin, bilang tagapangulo ng Senado, maging maayos ito, sang-ayon sa batas, credible, kapanipaniwala, at magagawad ng hustisya.
Tiniyak ng Department of Education o DepEd na maghahanap ito ng paraan upang maipagpatuloy ang 5 proyektong pinondohan ng United States Agency for International Development o USAID na nakasama sa freeze order ni US President Donald Trump. Ang mga proyektong ito ay ang ABC Plus na naglalayong magbigay ng access sa mga dekalidad na reading materials para sa early literacy development. Ang Opportunity 2.0 na nagbibigay ng suporta para sa alternatibong sistema ng pag-aaral. Ang Gabay Program na para sa mga mag-aaral na may mga kapansanan. Ang Improving Learning Outcomes for the Philippines na tutulong sa DepEd sa pagdidisenyo, pagpapatupad at pagsusuri ng mga programang pang-edukasyon mula pagkabata hanggang sa pag-unlad ng mga manggagawa. At ang Urban Connect, isang joint gender development program. Ayon kay Assistant Education Secretary para sa Strategic Management, Roger Masapol, ang mga proyektong ito na may kabuang halaga na 94.02 million pesos o katumbas ng 5 bilyong piso ay kasama sa 5-point agenda ng DepEd na tumutugon sa mga pangunahing issue sa sistema ng edukasyon sa Pilipinas. Sinabi ni Masapol na maaaring tingnan ng DepEd ang continuing funds ng ahensya upang puna ng pondo para sa mga nasabing proyektong pang-edukasyon. Hindi anya papayag ang DepEd na maapektuhan ang mga kritikal na reformang ito, kaya maghahanap ang ahensya ng mga paraan upang mapanatili ang mga proyekto. Isa na nga rito ang paggamit ng continuing funds ng ahensya upang punan ng pondo para sa mga nasabing proyektong pang-edukasyon. Naglabas si Trump ng executive order noong January 20 para ihinto sa loob ng 70 araw ng ang bagong foreign assistance obligations and disbursements habang nakabinbin ang pagsusuri sa mga programang ito ng Estados Unidos.
Susunod, 5 Prime Minister binisita si Chinese President Xi Jinping.
Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi, susunod na world leader na bibisita kay US President Donald Trump.
At international community, kinundina ang Gaza occupation proposal ni Donald Trump. Mga detalye po na mga balitang yan at iba pa sa pagbabalik ng Mata ng Agila International.
Malalaman na ni Sunhee ang tungkol sa relationship ni na Yunsu at Yeondo.
Hindi pwedeng maging kayo. Hindi ko matatanggap.
At ang mga sinisikreto ni Jong-e.
Gusto mo mag-hello ako kay Sukyo?
Bakit hindi niyo po sila bigyan ng pagkakataon?
Hindi si Hyondo ang issue, kundi si Tesu.
Marami ang maapektuhan.
May gusto akong itanong tungkol kay Yunso.
House of Bluebird. Gabi-gabi, 8:30 p.m. sa Net 25.
Let's get together sa Net 25. Sa Net 25.
Sinabi ni President Xi Jinping na dapat palalimin ng China at ng Thailand ang kanilang ugnayan at palawigin ang kanilang pagtutulungan sa harap ng hamon ng kasalukuyang geopolitical landscape. Inihayag niya ito noong tinanggap niya ang bumisitang Prime Minister na si Paitongtarn Shinawatra. Ito ang unang pagbisita ni Shinawatra simula noong siya'y maihalal sa pwesto noong Agosto ng nakaraang taon. Napapanahon ito sa paggunita ng ika-50 anibersaryo ng diplomatic relation ng dalawang bansa. Sa kanilang pagpupulong ay ipinagmalaki ni Xi Jinping ang ginagawang high-speed railway ng kanyang bansa na magkokonekta sa Beijing at Bangkok. Dagdag pa nito ay makatutulong din ang China sa larangan ng digital economy at pagpasok ng electric vehicles sa bansa. Tinalakay din ang dalawang pag-aalala ng Chinese government ukol sa paglaganap ng online fraud at safety scams ng Thailand laban sa mga Chinese nationals, kung saan nangako naman ng Thai PM na lalo na niyang papaigtingin ang seguridad sa kanilang bansa upang mawala ang pangamba ng mga Chinese tourists sa pagbisita sa Thailand. Isa ang turismo sa pangunahing pinagkakakitaan ng Thailand, kung saan ang Chinese foreign market naman ang pinakamalaking kontributor dito. Nakatala ang pagbisita ni Prime Minister Paitongtarn Shinawatra sa Pebrero 5 hanggang 8.
Nakatakdang bumisita sa US sa susunod na linggo si Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Ayon sa White House, dadala rin si Modi sa dinner kasama si US President Donald Trump sa 2 araw na pagbisita nito. Hindi pa naman inaanunsyo ng company Modi ang eksaktong petsa ng official working visit ni Modi. Si Modi ay isa sa ilang mga opisyal na personal na dadalaw kay Trump mula nang maupo ito sa pwesto. Uno nang nagtungo sa White House, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, at sa mga susunod na araw naman ay si Japanese Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba ang bibisita.
Umani ng magkahalong reaksyon ang naging pahayag ni US President Donald Trump na handa nilang i-take over ang Gaza.
The U.S. will take over the Gaza Strip, and we will do a job with it too. We'll own it and be responsible for dismantling all of the dangerous unexploded bombs and other weapons on the site, level the site and get rid of the destroyed buildings, level it out, create an economic development that will supply unlimited numbers of jobs and housing for the people of the area.
Sinang-ayunan naman siya ng bumibisitang Prime Minister na si Benjamin Netanyahu, kung saan sinabi nitong ito ang unang magandang ideya na narinig niya ukol sa kinabukasan ng Gaza at mga Palestino. Iginiit niya na hindi naman ito matatawag na ethnic cleansing dahil malaya namang bumalik ang mga Palestino sa kanilang lupain kung kailan nila gusto.
But Trump's entry into the White House gives enormous backing to those who wish to see Iran's aggression rolled back, Iran never having a nuclear weapon, and that affects the entire region. It elevates the spirit of Israelis, it elevates the spirit of all those who want to see a different Middle East, a prosperous and peaceful Middle East. I think it changes the global equation. It definitely changes the equation in the Middle East.
Una na itong kinundina ng mga kilalang katunggali ni Trump sa BRICS kagaya ng mga bansang Brazil, Russia at China, kung saan sinasabi nilang ang Gaza ay para sa mga Gazans. Iginiit nilang mas importante ang pagpapairal ng isang two-state solution sa naturang teritoryo at obligasyon ng Estados Unidos na tumulong sa pagre-rehabilita ng nasabing lugar dahil sa kanilang partisipasyon sa nangyaring giyera.
Урегулирование на Ближнем Востоке может состояться только на двухгосударственной основе. Это тот тезис, который закреплен в соответствии с безопасностью ООН. Это тот подавляющее большинство стран, имеющих отношение к этой проблеме. И мы исходим из него, мы также его поддерживаем, мы считаем, что это единственный возможный вариант.
中方始终认为，8人制8是加沙战后治理的基本原则。我们反对针对加沙民众的强制迁移，希望有关各方以加沙停火和战后治理为契机，推动巴勒斯坦问题重回以两国方案为基础政治解决的正确轨道。 实现中东的持久和平。
Nenhum país, por mais importante que seja, pode brigar com todo mundo todo tempo. Então não tem sentido o presidente dos Estados Unidos se reunir com o presidente dos Estados Unidos, de Israel, o Netanyahu, e dizer, olha, nós vamos ocupar Gaza e vamos recuperar Gaza e vamos morar em Gaza, e os palestinos vão para onde? Aonde que eles vão viver? Qual o país deles?
Maging si United Nations spokesperson Stephen Dujarric ay binatikos ang pahayag na ito ni Trump kung saan sinabi niyang mas lalong pinapalala pa ang mga problema. Mahalagaan niya na sumunod na lamang sa itinakda ng international law at iwasan ang anumang ethnic cleansing. Nagbabala rin ang United Nations Human Rights Office na ang puwersahang paglipat o pagpapaalis sa mga tao mula sa occupied territory ay isang paglabag sa international law. Nararapat na isulong na lamang ang ceasefire para tuluyang mahinto ang kaguluhan.
The Secretary General will say that the search for solutions, we must not make the problem worse. It is vital that we stay true to the bedrock of international law. It is essential to avoid any form of ethnic cleansing, and of course he will reaffirm the two-state solution. Look, any forced displacement of people is tantamount to ethnic cleansing.
Umalma ang Palestinians, Arab states at European nations sa suhestyon ni Pangulong Donald Trump ng pag-angkin ng Estados Unidos sa Gaza Strip. Gayon din sa plano nitong patirahin sa ibang lugar ang Palestinians. Si Sakmar po para sa karagdagang mga detalye.
Matindi ang pagtanggi ng Palestinians gayon din ng mga estado sa Arabia at Europe sa balak ni US President Donald Trump ukol sa hinaharap ng Gaza. Sa isang press conference kasama si Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu noong Martes, sinabi ni Trump na nais niyang okupahan ng US ang Gaza at i-relocate ang Palestinians sa ibang lugar. Bilang tugon, sinabi ng tanggapan ni Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas, tinatanggihan ng Pangulo at ng iba pang Palestinian leaders ang panawagang okupahan ng US ang Gaza Strip at ilikas na naman ang Palestinians mula sa kanilang bayan. Tinutulan din ng Hamas ang pahayag ni Trump. Ayon sa militanteng grupo, balak ito ng US at ng Israel upang pangatwiranan ang pagkontrol sa Gaza. Sinabi ni Turkish Foreign Minister Hakan Fidan na ang mukahing relocation ni Trump ay hindi katangga-tanggap. Ito anya ay mali. Ayon naman kay Spanish Foreign Minister Jose Manuel Alvarez Bueno, ang Gaza Strip ay pag-aari ng Palestinians sa rehiyon at bahagi ng Palestinian state sa hinaharap. Samantala, binigyang diin ni Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese ang suporta nito sa two-state solution. Ayon naman kay UK Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer, dapat payagang makabalik sa kanilang tahanan at makabangon muli ang Palestinians. Anya, suportado rin ng UK ang two-state solution. Nagbabala ang French Ministry of Foreign Affairs na ang puwersahang pagpapalipat sa Palestinian population ay seryosong pagsasalansang sa batas international. Tutol din ang Germany sa proposal ni Trump. Subalit sa kabila ng pagkondena ng iba't ibang leader sa mundo, sinabi ni Trump na nagustuhan ng lahat ang plano nito. Hindi sinabi ng Pangulo kung sino-sino ang ibig niyang sabihin. Ashley Sakmar para sa mata ng Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
Binatikos ng mga pinuno ng estado ng Cuba, Nicaragua at Venezuela ang isinasagawang mass deportation ni Donald Trump.
No nos podemos dejar provocar por el nuevo gobierno de los Estados Unidos, ni andaremos al paso que ellos quieren imponer. Nos vamos a mantener serenos, analizando cada acción y respondiendo cuando haya que hacerlo, con la valentía y el arrojo que siempre lo hicieron nuestros líderes Fidel Castro, Hugo Chávez y Raúl Castro. Sin ninguna duda, en el escenario político y geoestratégico actual, se van a exacerbar los abundantes y muy diversos factores irritantes entre los Estados Unidos y nuestra América. Ya no se trata de una especulación. El propio gobierno imperialista ha declarado públicamente su amenaza a la integridad territorial de las naciones tal como puede verificarse en sus referencias al Canal de Panamá y los pasos dados para reescribir la geografía regional.
Iginiit ng alyansa ng Latin American nations na hindi sila magpapadala sa bugso ng damdamin sa pakikisalamuha sa Estados Unidos at mananatili silang mapagmatsyag at kalmado sa harap ng mapang-aping polisiyang inilalabas ni Donald Trump. Inihayag ng mga pangulo ang kanilang pagkabahala sa naturang polisiya ni Trump sa naganap na Bolivarian Alliance for the Peoples of Our America o ALBA Summit. Pinangunahan ni Cuban President Miguel Diaz-Canel ang pagbatikos kay Donald Trump kung saan mariin niyang kinundena ang plano ni Trump na pansamantalang ipatapon sa Guantanamo Bay ang ibang iligal na imigranteng hindi pa nila madedeport. Ikinababahala nito ang banta sa seguridad ng Cuba na gagawin ni Donald Trump.
Para Cuba resulta inaceptable la deportación violenta e indiscriminada de migrantes en los Estados Unidos, las detenciones arbitrarias y otras violaciones de los derechos humanos, medidas que además se emplean como armas de presión política y chantaje contra los pueblos de nuestra América. El establecimiento de un centro de detención en la base naval norteamericana en Guantánamo, en el que se pretenden cancelar decenas de miles de personas, constituye un acto barbárico. Es además una amenaza a la seguridad nacional de Cuba y de la subregión. Y se trata de un enclave militar que ocupa una porción del territorio cubano en contra de la voluntad de nuestro pueblo y de nuestra nación.
Ibinigay naman ni Nicaraguan President Daniel Ortega ang kanyang simpatya sa pinagdadaanan ngayon ng mga migrante kung saan sinabi niyang magbabago rin ang damdamin ni Trump ukol sa deportation. Anya, inaantay lamang nito na maramdaman ni Trump kung gaano kalaking dagok ang naidulot nito sa labor market ng kanyang bansa.
Nosotros expresamos nuestra solidaridad con los migrantes que están siendo desalojados de los Estados Unidos. Y bueno, llegará el día en que la actitud, esa tendencia antimigratoria que se ha exacerbado desaparezca y que se valore en lo que se debe valorar lo que ha sido el aporte y lo que sigue siendo el aporte de los inmigrantes a la actividad económica, a la actividad productiva, a la actividad que demanda mano de obra de estos países.
Umapela naman si Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro na sana ay maging makatao ang pagtrato ng Immigration and Customs Enforcement o ICE officers sa mga migrante sa kabila ng ginagawa nilang operasyon.
Están las propuestas que hay sobre migración, respeto al migrante nuestro americano, respeto a sus derechos humanos, cumplimiento de los estándares internacionales para su regreso seguro, protegido, en el caso que fuese necesario a nuestros países. Y en ese marco, como han expresado varias de las intervenciones, prestar todo el apoyo para que el migrante se integre de manera productiva a nuestros países.
Bilang bahagi ng tariff deal ay nakadeploy na sa US border ang unang grupo ng mga sundaling Mexicano na siyang pipigil sa pagpasok ng illegal migrants at fentanyl sa Estados Unidos. Ana Quipo para sa report.
Migrasyon at trapiko ng fentanyl. Ayon sa mga opisyal, bilang unang hakbang, nag-deploy na ang Mexico ng mga sundalo nito sa tinatawag na hotspot sa baybayin ng US border kung saan mataas ang bilang ng ilegal na migrasyon at trapiko ng droga at sandata. Kasama ang border states ng Baja California, Sonora at Tamaulipas.
El personal que acaba de arribar a esta plaza perteneciente a la Guardia Nacional arribó con motivo de los recientes acuerdos a los que llegó la presidenta Claudia Sheinbaum con el presidente Donald Trump, consistente en reforzar la frontera norte de nuestro país con personal de la Guardia Nacional con el fin de evitar el tráfico de drogas de México hacia los Estados Unidos, principalmente fentanilo. Serán recorridos en toda la frontera de México con Estados Unidos. En toda la línea fronteriza serán recorridos a pie, a motor, así como patrullajes en diversos caminamientos que conducen a la frontera de nuestro país con Estados Unidos.
Ang planong mag-deploy ng 10,000 Mexican soldiers ay pagtupad sa kasunduang inanunsyo noong Lunes kung saan inihinto ni US President Donald Trump ang bantang 25% taripa sa mga angkat mula Mexico. Ana Cui para sa Mata ng Agila International, Trusted, Connected, On Point.
Sa kabila ng plano ng Trump administration na okupahin ang Gaza, hindi pa nito sinusubukang magpadala ng mga sundalo sa nasabing teritoryo. Si Anjo Milano para sa balita.
Noong Miyerkules, kinumpirma ng White House na wala pang plano si Pangulong Donald Trump na maglagay ng US troops sa Gaza. Ito ay sa kabila ng proposal ng Pangulo na US takeover sa Palestinian enclave. Ayon kay White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt, naniniwala si Trump na kailangan makialam ang US sa pagbangon ng Gaza upang tiyakin ang katatagan ng rehiyon. Subalit hindi ito nangangahulugan gagastusan ng US ang pagtatayong muli sa teritoryo ni ang magpadala ng mga sundalo sa lugar.
The president has not committed to putting boots on the ground in Gaza. He has also said that the United States is not going to pay for the rebuilding of Gaza. His administration is going to work with our partners in the region to reconstruct this region. And let me just take a step back here, because this is an out-of-the-box idea. That's who President Trump is. That's why the American people elected him. And his goal is lasting peace in the Middle East for all people in the region.
Dagdag ni Leavitt, marapat na tanggapin pansamantala ng mga bansa sa rehiyon ang Palestinians habang dumadaan sa rekonstruksyon ang Gaza.
Made it clear that he expects these nations in the region to step up and to accept Palestinian refugees who will be temporarily relocated for the rebuilding of Gaza. As for whether Prime Minister Netanyahu was aware before the president's remarks, he was indeed. I wasn't present for that reaction. But again, this is something the president has been socializing and thinking about for quite some time.
Anjo Milano para sa Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Kinuwestiyon naman ng mga demokratikong mambabatas na mga walang access sa US Treasury Department ang pagkakaroon ng access ng bilyonaryong si Elon Musk sa payment system ng ahensya. Narito pong report ni Rosel Feria.
Ayon sa isang opisyal, binigyan ng read-only access ng Treasury Department sa payment systems nito si Elon Musk na hepe ng Department of Government Efficiency. Sa isang liham sa Kongreso, sinabi ni Treasury Department Principal Deputy Assistant Secretary Jonathan Blum na ang access na ibinigay kay Musk ay parang ang mga ibinibigay sa mga individual na nagsusuri ng Treasury systems tulad ng auditors. Anya, sinusunod nito ang pag-iingat sa integridad ng mga sistema at proseso ng kalakalan. Samantala, sumali sa isang protesta si Democratic Senator Elizabeth Warren ng Massachusetts. Sinabi nitong nangungolekta na si Musk sa mga ginastos niya sa eleksyon ni Pangulong Donald Trump.
In the building behind me, Elon Musk is seizing power from the American people. We are here to fight back.
Ayon kay Democratic Representative Maxwell Frost ng Florida, hanap nila ang kasagutan kung bakit nasa kamay ni Elon Musk na hindi naman ibinoto ng bayan ang sensitibong impormasyon ng mga mamamayan.
We are here today as elected members of Congress. We're here today because an unelected billionaire and his team have been given full and unfettered access to our taxpayer money and our government. We just tried to enter the Treasury building as members of Congress, and we will, because we need to provide oversight to Elon Musk and his team. We don't know what they're doing behind these closed doors. The people deserve transparency. The fact that an unelected billionaire has all your private information is a problem.
Una nang tinanggihan ng isang career Treasury official na si David Lebrick ang tangkang ito ni Musk. Pinag-leave si Lebrick at kalaunay nagretiro. Ayon sa mga ulat, noong Biyernes, ibinigay na nga ni Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent sa grupo ni Musk ang access sa sistema. Ipinapadala ng sistema ang higit sa $6 trillion kada taon na bayad para sa federal agencies. Laman nito ang personal na impormasyon ng milyon-milyong taga-Amerika na tumatanggap ng benepisyo mula sa Social Security payments, tax refunds at iba pang bayad mula sa gobyerno. Rosel Feria para sa Mata ng Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
Susunod, 10 katao patay matapos magbarilan sa isang eskwelahan sa Sweden.
Condonisan merger mabubuwag na.
At usapang NBA trade deadline, superstar forward Jimmy Butler na ilipat na ng Miami Heat. Iba pang detalye ng mga balita sa pagbabalik ng Mata ng Agila International.
Alam namin ang iyong pagsisikap. Dama namin ang iyong mga sakripisyo. Kita namin ang pagharap mo sa bawat pagsubok. Kaya sa kabila ng mga hamon ng buhay, nandito kami para umalalay. Kasi katulad mo, gusto rin namin ang magandang bukas para sa kanya. Hatid namin ang dekalidad na edukasyon at makabagong pasilidad sa abot kayang halaga. Kaya huwag ka na mangamba. Sasamahan ka namin tuparin ang mga pangarap niya. Maaasahan mong sulit dito ang mga pinagsikapan mo. Sa aming mga makabagong pasilidad at sistema ng edukasyon. Mailalabas natin ang aking talino at mga kakayahan niya. Kahit sa munting halaga, makakasiguro ka na makakasabay siya sa mabilis na pag-ikot ng mundo. Sa new era, karamay mo kami sa bawat hamon. Kaagapay mo kami sa bawat hakbang. Kasama mo kami sa bawat ngiti at tagumpay.
It is a signal to the world that we are open for business.
Tumama ang pakpak ng isang Japan Airlines plane sa buntot naman ng isang Delta airplane sa Seattle-Tacoma International Airport. Ayon sa lokal na ulat, naganap ang insidente bandang 10:15 ng umaga. Kinumpirma naman ng mga otoridad na walang nasaktan mula sa kolisyon, subalit nagdulot ito ng delay sa mga flight schedules. Ligtas na transfer sa ibang aircraft ang mga pasahero ng Delta Air Flight. Inaalam na ng mga airport authorities ang dahilan ng kolisyon ng dalawang aircraft.
Isang driver sa Vietnam ang nakaligtas sa isang road accident matapos magliyab ang sinasakyan nitong motorsiklo. Mula sa nakalap na dashcam video, mapapansin na may dalang mga lobong driver ng motor nang sumadsad ito sa island ng kalsada. Dito na tumagilid ang motor at nasunog ang mga lobo. Paliwanag ng mga eksperto dahil sa friction at helium na laman ng lobo kung kaya't lumiyab ang motorsiklo. Samantala, nagtamo naman ng mga gasgas sa ilang bahagi ng katawan ng driver.
Sampu ang patay sa pamamaril na naganap sa isang adult education center sa Sweden. Ang trahedyang ito ang sinasabing pinakamalalang pag-atake na naganap sa bansa, ayon po yan sa Prime Minister, at isang napakasaklap na araw. Jonah Malyari po para sa report.
Ang pamamaril na ikinamatay ng 10 katao ay naganap sa bayan ng Örebro na 200 kilometro ang layo sa Stockholm, Sweden, sa Risbergska School for Adults. Ang eskwelahang ito ay para sa mga hindi nakatapos ng formal na edukasyon o hindi nakakumpleto ng grado upang makapagpatuloy sa mataas na paaralan. Nasa campus ito kung saan may mga estudyante rin na naninirahan. Sinasabing ang gunman ay isa sa mga nasawi. Ayon sa kapulisan, patuloy ang paghahanap sa mga posibleng naging biktima rin ng pamamaril. Hindi pa malinaw ang motibo ng gunman. Ayon kay Police Chief Roberto E. Forrest, 10 ang kumpirmadong patay, subalit hindi pa tiyak kung may iba pang biktima.
Det är svårt att ta in vidden av det som har hänt idag. Det mörker som nu lägger sig över Sverige ikväll. Det är med bottenlös sorg som vi har tagit emot beskedet från polisen att ett 10-tal personer har dödats och flera har skadats i en skolskjutning i Örebro. Det som bara inte får hända har nu hänt även i Sverige.
Ani Forrest, tila mag-isang umakto ang gunman at sa kasalukuyan hindi nila pinaniniwalaan na terorismo ang motibo nito. Isinalaysay ng isang saksi ang kanyang karanasan at kung ano ang kanilang ginawa habang wala pang dumarating na mga otoridad.
Vi har idag sett ett brutalt dödligt våld mot helt oskyldiga människor. Det här är den värsta massskjutningen i svensk historia. Ännu saknas väldigt många svar. Och jag kan inte ge de svaren heller. Men det kommer en tid när vi får veta vad som har hänt, hur det kunde ske och vilka motiv som kan ha legat bakom. Gunnar, med detta öppnar vi för frågor.
Samantala, sinabi ni Swedish Prime Minister Ulf Kristersson na ang trahedyang ito ang pinakamalalang mass shooting sa kasaysayan ng bansa.
Det är svårt att ta in vidden av det som har hänt idag. Det mörker som nu lägger sig över Sverige ikväll. Det är med bottenlös sorg som vi har tagit emot beskedet från polisen att ett 10-tal personer har dödats och flera har skadats i en skolskjutning i Örebro. Det som bara inte får hända har nu hänt även i Sverige. Vi har idag sett ett brutalt dödligt våld mot helt oskyldiga människor. Det här är den värsta massskjutningen i svensk historia. Ännu saknas väldigt många svar. Och jag kan inte ge de svaren heller. Men det kommer en tid när vi får veta vad som har hänt, hur det kunde ske och vilka motiv som kan ha legat bakom.
Jonah Malyari para sa mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Tinutugis na ng Ohio Police ang isang di pa nakikilalang person of interest dahil sa pamamaril na ikinasawi ng isang tao at ikinasugat naman ng 5 pang individual. Agad na itinakbo sa ospital ang mga biktima ng shooting habang patuloy na sinusuyod ng mga otoridad ang pinangyarihan ng krimen para kumalap ng mga ebidensya. Lumilitaw kasi sa investigasyon ang insidente ay isang targeted type of attack. Samantala, tumanggi si New Albany Police Chief Greg Jones na magbigay ng komento kung may motibo ang naturang person of interest, ngunit kumukuha na nila sila ng search warrants para formal na mag-imbestiga.
Nakipagpulong si Nissan CEO Makoto Uchida kasama ng kanyang kapwa CEO ng Honda na si Toshihiro Mibe upang formal nang tapusin ang kanilang planong merger. Noong Disyembre ng nakaraang taon, nagplano ang dalawang kumpanya na magsagawa ng merger sa harap ng lumalaking banta sa automotive industry ng Tesla at Chinese automaker na BYD. Tila nagkalabuan ang dalawa ukol sa patutunguhan ng kanilang pinagsamang kumpanya dahil sa pagkakaiba sa filosofiya ng dalawang kumpanya at pananaw patungo sa potensyal na kinabukasan ng nasabing merger. Nagkalabuan din ang negosasyon noong sabihin ng Honda na nais silang gawing subsidiary company ang Nissan brand. Nakatakdang formal na umatras ang Nissan sa Memorandum of Understanding ng mga kumpanya sa board meeting na isasagawa na sa susunod na linggo. Sa mga Japanese automaker brands, ang Toyota ang pinakamalaki na sinusundan naman ng Honda at ng Nissan.
Malapit nang ilunsad ang ikatlong version ng Grok, isang artificial intelligence o AI chatbot sa social media platform na X. Kinumpirma ito sa expose ni Mario Nafal kung saan inaasahan na sa mga susunod na linggo ay ilalabas na ni Elon Musk ang Grok 3. Ayon kay Mario Nafal, kaya umanong masagutan ng Grok 3 ang Riemann hypothesis, isang math problem na iniiwasan ng mga henyo sa loob ng 160 taon. Pinaniniwalaang ang Grok 3 ay sumailalim sa 10 beses na training para makamit ang supercomputing capabilities nito. Susunod, isang vintage na Mercedes-Benz na ibenta sa isang auction.
Movie theater para sa indigenous people binuksan sa Brazil.
At abangan ang iba pang mga istorya pagdating ni Alma Angeles at ng Mata ng Agila World News. Abangan po ang pagbabalik pa rin ng Mata ng Agila International.
Malalaman na ni Sunhee ang tungkol sa relationship ni na Yunsu at Yondo.
Hindi pwedeng maging kayo. Hindi ko matatanggap.
At ang mga sinisikreto ni Jong-e.
Gusto mo mag-hello ako kay Sukyo?
Bakit hindi niyo po sila bigyan ng pagkakataon?
Hindi si Hyondo ang issue, kundi si Tesu.
Marami ang maapektuhan.
May gusto akong itanong tungkol kay Yunso.
House of Bluebird. Gabi-gabi, 8:30 p.m. sa Net 25.
Let's get together sa Net 25. Sa Net 25.
House of Bluebird. Gabi-gabi, 8 p.m. Dito lang sa Net 25.
Let's get together sa Net 25. Sa Net 25.
Kumalat online kung ano siya dati. Parang hinukay ang deepest secret sa loob ng puso niya.
Kahit tagilid ang image ni Elaine, todo pa rin ang support ni Gino.
Mas mabuting bitaw mo na si Elaine Chen.
Pinangako ko kay Jessica na hindi siya maalis. Gagawin ko yun.
Pero kahit nagiging close na ulit sina Gino at Jessica.
Hanggat
Hindi pa kayo tunay na magkarelasyon ni Gino. Hindi ako susuko.
Hello, My Shining Love. Weeknights, 9 p.m. on Net 25.
Maglalaro na sa Golden State Warriors si dating Miami Heat star Jimmy Butler matapos ang matagumpay na trade deal sa pagitan ng dalawang koponan. Kapalit ni Jimmy si NBA champion Andrew Wiggins at ang bagong pasok na guard na si Dennis Schroeder. Kasama rin sa deal ang bench si Kyle Anderson at isang protected first-round pick. Ang matagumpay na trade ay bahagi ng 5-team deal na kinabibilangan ng Utah Jazz, Detroit Pistons at Toronto Raptors. Sa kabuuan, mapupunta si Butler sa Golden State habang mapupunta naman si Wiggins at PJ Tucker sa Miami. Si Dennis Schroeder ay mapupunta sa Utah habang sa Toronto Raptors naman maglalaro ang bench player na si Kyle Anderson. Sa Detroit, mapupunta ang shooter na si Lindsey Waters kasama ang Heat bench player na si Josh Richardson. Maliban sa trade, tuluyan ding pumirma si Butler ng 2-year extension sa Golden State na nagkakahalaga ng $121 million. Ito ay magtatagal hanggang sa 2026-2027 season. Sa loob ng pananatili ni Butler sa Miami, nagawa niyang madala ang kanyang koponan sa NBA Finals ng 2 beses. Sa kabilang dako, naging malaking tulong din sa Golden State ang presensya ni Wiggins, daan upang maibulsa nila ang pinakahuling kampyonato noong 2022. Si Wiggins ang nagsilbing starting forward sa playoff run hanggang sa mismong championship. Naibenta sa halagang 51.155 million euros o $53.01 million ang tinaguriang Silver Arrows ng Mercedes-Benz sa RM Sotheby's. Dahil dito ay tinuring itong pinakamahal na Formula 1 car na naibenta sa auction. Ang sasakyan kasi na ito ay ginamit ni 5-time world champion Jose Manuel Fangio sa Buenos Aires Grand Prix taong 1955. Ayon kay Mercedes-Benz Heritage CEO Marcos Abreu-Chivert, ang Silver Arrows ay may 8-cylinder engine at 295 horsepower na kayang tumakbo sa bilis na hanggang 300 kilometers per hour. Anya, bilang isang streamliner ang Silver Arrows, meron itong magandang aerodynamics kaya mabilis itong tumakbo noong kapanahunan nito. Agad namang natapos ang kasikatan ng nasabing sasakyan matapos ang Le Mans 24 hours disaster noong 1955 din na pumatay ng 84 katao.
At para naman bigyan ng kaaliwan ang mga local sa Brazil ay binuksan sa komunidad ng Inhabe ang Manaus na unang movie theater nito. Ayon sa Ministry of Culture at Federal Government sa Brazil, tinawag ang proyekto bilang Cine All Day o Community Cinema sa Ingles. Layon po ng proyektong iparanas sa mga indigenous people ng Brazil ang cinematic feeling kahit sila pa ay nakatira sa mga liblib na lugar. Sa unang screening ng proyekto ay ipinalabas ang 8 indigenous short films. Higit pa rito ay inilabas din ang isang documentary na nasa direksyon ni Thais Kokama, isang indigenous producer at creator ng Cine All Day Project. Ayon kay Kokama, mula sa proyekto na kanilang sisimulan ay nais niyang bigyang oportunidad ang mga indigenous people na maging protagonists o yung mga bida naman ng kanilang istorya ng buhay.
A gente ter hoje uma sala de cinema indígena é que a gente está tendo a oportunidade de ser protagonista da nossa própria história. A gente tem pessoas indígenas já atuando no audiovisual, sendo ator, fazendo roteiro. Então a gente vai estar empoderando essa nova geração a estar fazendo o mesmo trabalho e continuando pelos nossos ancestrais.
At narito po kami para maghatid ng balita saan mang dako ng mundo. Muli ako po si Rikki Mathay.
Ako si Rikki, Alagao, Flores. Ito pa rin ang mata ng Agila International. Para naman po sa iba pang mga balitang nanggaling din sa iba't ibang panig ng mundo, punta tayo kay Alma Angeles para sa mata ng Agila World News. Take it away, Alma.
Thank you, Nina and Rikki. Good evening, everyone. I'm Alma Angeles for Net 25 World News. On tonight's headlines.
U.S. and Gaza. Fallout after President Trump declares the U.S. will take control of the Gaza Strip, floating the idea of a Middle East Riviera and suggesting Palestinians may have to relocate. But is the White House backing away from putting troops on the ground? Federal job cuts, the administration eyeing deeper reductions to the federal workforce, including possible cuts at the CIA and within the intelligence community. And Seattle runway collision. A close call at Seattle-Tacoma International Airport. 2 planes clip wings while taxiing. And the news starts now. A seaside resort, gleaming hotels, tourists from all over the world. That's how Donald Trump envisions Gaza. But his proposal to take over the war-ravaged territory, relocate Palestinians, and turn it into the Riviera of the Middle East is igniting fierce backlash. Standing beside Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu in Washington, Trump laid out his plan. Flatten what's left of Gaza and rebuild it under U.S. control. He insisted it would be a thriving international hub, with Palestinians moved to Egypt and Jordan.
The U.S. will take over the Gaza Strip, and we will do a job with it too. We'll own it, level the site and get rid of the destroyed buildings, level it out, create an economic development that will supply unlimited numbers of jobs and housing for the people of the area. I do see a long-term ownership position, and I see it bringing great stability to that part of the Middle East and maybe the entire Middle East. And everybody I've spoken to, this was not a decision made lightly. Everybody I've spoken to loves the idea of the United States owning that piece of land, developing and creating thousands of jobs with something that will be magnificent in a really magnificent area that nobody would know. Nobody can look because all they see is death and destruction and rubble. And I don't want to be cute. I don't want to be a wise guy, but the Riviera of the Middle East, this could be something that could be so this could be so magnificent.
But here's the reality. Gaza is no blank slate. It's home to more than 2 million people, many of whom have already been displaced by war. Once a 30-minute drive from end to end, now much of the Strip is unrecognizable. Over 60% of its buildings have been damaged or destroyed. For those who have lost everything, Trump's vision isn't a dream. It's a nightmare.
About Trump's call to resettle Palestinians in Jordan, Egypt, or any other Arab or Islamic country, we also heard of Indonesia in the past. Neither the Arab countries nor the Palestinians will accept it. How can a Palestinian who holds the Palestinian nationality and whose ancestors died on this soil go to Egypt, Jordan, or any other country? This is rejected and it will not pass on the Palestinians.
Governments across the world, including Egypt, Jordan, and Germany, the United Nations and human rights groups call it ethnic cleansing.
In the search for solutions, we must not make the problem worse. It is vital to stay true to the bedrock of international law. It is essential to avoid any form of ethnic cleansing.
There is no power on earth that can remove the Palestinian people from our ancestral homeland, including Gaza.
Well, my first reaction was that's Trump being Trump. There's no way in hell that this thing is going to work. It involves too many moving parts. It involves ethnic cleansing of Palestine, of Gaza. It involves the American commitment of troops. It involves violations of international law. It involves the Palestinians renouncing their entitlement to the land on which they are. So it's just not going to work.
Even in Washington, some lawmakers have pushed back.
It is very clear that what the president talked about would make our country less safe. An invasion of U.S. troops into Gaza would not make Americans more safe. It would make Americans a target.
His press secretary later clarified no U.S. troops would be involved,
But Trump sees American leadership as key to stabilizing the region.
The president has not committed to putting boots on the ground in Gaza. He has also said that the United States is not going to pay for the rebuilding of Gaza. His administration is going to work with our partners in the region to reconstruct this region. And let me just take a step back here, because this is an out-of-the-box idea. That's who President Trump is. That's why the American people elected him. And his goal is lasting peace in the Middle East for all people in the region.
What President Trump announced yesterday is the offer, the willingness of the United States to become responsible for the reconstruction of that area.
But Netanyahu and some of Trump's allies support the plan.
But the actual idea of allowing first Gazans who want to leave, I mean, what's wrong with that? They can leave, they can then come back, they can relocate and come back, but you have to rebuild Gaza. If you want to rebuild Gaza, you can't have, this is the first good idea that I've heard. It's a remarkable idea, and I think it should be really pursued, examined, pursued, and done, because I think it will create a different future for everyone.
Well, it was amazing what we saw yesterday. I mean, Donald Trump in Washington, in fact, show us how you can draw a new Middle East, but this time a realistic Middle East. Not those dreams, I mean, this Alice or Arafat in Wonderland that we had for 3 or 4 decades, I mean, in which you could think that you would bring back terrorists to the region or just beside us. And in fact, you might even give them a Nobel Prize and everybody will be happy forever after. No. Here, you kill the bad ones and you do peace with the good ones. And this time, you really draw a new Middle East. And this president is amazing. And Donald Trump, I'm not ashamed to say, here in Israel, I mean, you know, in my party or anywhere, if you would come here, I mean, and we have elections, my God, you and Netanyahu, equal. You'll both win.
And Trump has a strong sense of right and wrong. And it's clear to him who's in the right and who's in the wrong. There's no room for terrorism. There's no room for killing innocent people. And I think that Trump is a very strong presence in the world in general, and specifically in the Middle East. And I think if anybody can bring a sense of stability to the Middle East, it'll be Trump. Well, he's setting the bar high. He's setting the bar very, very high. He wants to move everybody out of Gaza. I think that's an ideal, because Gaza is not helping anybody. The people from Gaza they're suffering, we're suffering, and the world is suffering. And I think he's got the right idea. How to implement it is a different story. But if anybody can do it, it'll be Trump.
With Gaza in ruins and the war still ongoing, Trump's plan raises more questions than answers. Could it further escalate tensions? What happens to the people already there? And is this the end of hopes for a two-state solution? One thing is clear, Trump's proposal has set off a firestorm and the world is watching. And tonight, a stunning development at America's premier intelligence agency. The CIA is going through what might be its biggest ever shakeup ever. And here's the bombshell. Every single employee has just received a buyout offer. That's right. From analysts to operatives, they're all facing a choice. Take 8 months' pay and walk away, or roll the dice and possibly face layoffs down the road. The numbers here are eye-opening. While the exact headcount is classified, we're talking about roughly 20,000 employees. And this isn't happening in a vacuum. It's part of a larger push by the Trump administration to reshape the federal government. But here's where it gets interesting. The CIA isn't just any government agency. We're talking about the organization that tracked down Osama bin Laden, that's been America's eyes and ears around the globe since 1947. And now, under new director John Ratcliffe, it's facing a dramatic transformation. Let me share with you what Ratcliffe himself said about this.
I will unapologetically empower the most talented, hardest working, and most courageous risk takers and innovators to protect the American people and advance America's interests. And I will not tolerate anything or anyone that distracts from our mission.
Strong words, but here's the catch, and this is crucial. Ratcliffe gets to decide who stays and who goes. Some of these operations are so classified, they can't just be handed off. Some have been running for years, and certain personnel, they might be too valuable to let go. The CIA has always been a paradox, an agency that works in the shadows but shapes world events. From the Cold War to the War on Terror, they've been there. Critics are raising red flags, warning that expertise might take a backseat to political loyalty. Supporters say it's about time for a clean slate. But here's the burning question. What happens to America's intelligence capabilities during all this? In a world of rising global tensions, cyber threats, and international terrorism, can the CIA afford a mass exodus of experienced personnel? China is challenging the U.S. and the World Trade Organization, accusing President Trump's new tariffs and the end of a key duty-free exemption of breaking trade rules. Take a look.
China filed a World Trade Organization complaint against U.S. President Donald Trump's new 10% tariff on Chinese imports. In the Wednesday filing, China argues that the tariff, as well as Trump's cancellation of a duty-free exemption for low-value packages, are protectionist and break WTO rules. It says the duties are discriminatory and, quote, are imposed on the basis of unfounded and false allegations concerning China. Beijing's complaint also comes after Trump's move to shut a trade loophole that allowed small-value packages to be shipped duty-free. The so-called de minimis provision, used widely by e-commerce giants like Shein and Temu, exempted packages with goods worth less than $800 from duties. Around 1.36 billion shipments entered the United States using the de minimis provision in 2024. The Trump administration has blamed the de minimis exemption for allowing fentanyl and its precursor chemicals to enter the U.S. unscreened. Recent Reuters reporting has also found that drug traffickers are exploiting the exemption. Beijing's Wednesday WTO filing could lead to a ruling that Trump's duties violated trade rules, in the same manner that a 2020 ruling found that his first-term China tariffs broke trade regulations. However, such a victory would be unlikely to satisfy Beijing because the WTO's appeals body has been largely inoperable for years. That's because of Washington's blocking of appointments of appellate judges over what it views as judicial overreach by the body, which has prohibited a final decision in the 2020 case.
Now, for a brief moment, it looked like packages from China and Hong Kong would no longer reach American doorsteps. The U.S. Postal Service suddenly stopped accepting parcels from those regions. But just as quickly, it reversed course. Take a look.
The U.S. Postal Service did a U-turn on Wednesday. It had suspended the delivery of parcels coming from China and Hong Kong, but later said it will now accept them. That follows President Donald Trump's move to shut a trade loophole that allowed small-value packages to be shipped duty-free. The so-called de minimis provision allowed importers and U.S. shoppers to avoid duties on goods worth less than $800. The change posed a big challenge for fast-growing online retailers like Temu and Shein. They've built big businesses shipping products from China at rock-bottom prices, often using the de minimis rule. USPS did not immediately comment on whether its temporary suspension had been tied to Trump's order ending de minimis shipments from China.
We're going to do very well against China and against everybody else.
His move was announced on Saturday and came into force from 1 minute past midnight on Tuesday. Shein and Temu might face further complications in the US. Reports by news website Semaphore claimed the Department of Homeland Security could add the pair to its list of firms suspected of using forced labor. The report said no final decision had been made. Both firms denied using forced labor. Responding to Trump's tariffs, Beijing has put several US firms, including Alphabet's Google, on notice that they could face sanctions by China.
The U.S. Postal Service's temporary suspension of parcel services from Hong Kong has left residents grappling with the unforeseen disruption, with the effect noticeably felt at post offices across the Chinese territory. Businessman John Can found himself at the receiving end of this sudden policy shift.
It's not very good actually for us. Like Hong Kong has a very good reputation for everything, but this is a political war and we don't know what to do. Definitely it's not good for us because this is one of the main source for us to send the goods to USA and receive.
At a local Hong Kong post office counter, Kan, who was seeking to check the status of a package he had sent to the U.S. 2 days ago, expressed frustration after a staff member told him it wasn't possible to ascertain where his delivery might be now.
I don't know why we are victim in middle of this political bullfight. So that's what, it's very disturbing for us actually, very disturbing. So that's why I posted yesterday something, and now when I see that this news came and my friends, they informed me and I saw the news, and then I just come here and when I called the hotline, they told us that you are not the only one. Hundreds of people called this morning, the hotline was very busy, and suddenly this political, like the imposing the duties and the other thing, like it's a kind of political war, which is affecting the local people.
Elon Musk's bold move to reshape the U.S. government is raising eyebrows across the country. With Trump's backing, Musk has taken charge of a sweeping government overhaul, aiming to streamline agencies, slash budgets, and even shut down USAID.
Elon Musk's swift takeover of 2 U.S. government agencies has given him unprecedented control over the federal workforce, allowing him to push major reforms. His focus, shutting down USAID and slashing budgets across multiple departments, all part of Trump's broader effort to shrink the government and install loyalists. Trump has put Musk in charge of the so-called Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE. But despite the official sounding name, it's not actually a government department. Musk isn't on the payroll, and its creation has already sparked lawsuits from unions and watchdog groups. Who exactly works for DOGE remains a mystery. The Trump administration hasn't released a staff list, disclosed salaries, or detailed how many DOGE officials are embedded in federal agencies.
Elon can't do and won't do anything without our approval, and we'll give him the approval where appropriate. Where not appropriate, we won't. But he does have a good natural instinct. He's got a team of very talented people. We're trying to shrink government, and he can probably shrink it as well as anybody else, if not better.
Meanwhile, legal experts say Congress and the courts could still step in to rein in Musk's sweeping government overhaul.
So the key issue with Musk's actions is that it's happening in this zone that we could best describe as a gray legal zone, or perhaps more accurately described as a zone of illegality. So he is effectively shutting down an American government agency. That requires an act of Congress. He is effectively firing or putting on administrative leave huge proportions of the federal workforce. Again, even the president doesn't have the power to do this. This is really something that requires congressional permission. And shutting off payments to third parties like grantees, and this could include universities, nonprofits, or foreign aid providers, also is not something we think that the president is allowed to do. There's something called the Impoundment Control Act that prevents the president from deciding he will not spend congressional funds. So Musk taking over payment systems or USAID and saying we're not going to pay the obligations of this government agency is a huge red flag. The president can certainly set new directions for federal employees, and he can use political appointees to issue guidance to those employees. But there's a vast difference between that and simply firing all of the employees, which is something that he's not legally allowed to do. I think I would still predict that the court would say that the president cannot impound funds, that is, he can just ignore Congress when it comes to spending. There is case law on this, and there is clear statutory intent from Congress. I think the president will probably gain more power over civil service employees than he has currently, but I don't think they will dismantle the entire civil service system or give the president the power to simply fire all employees through backdoor means.
And so that's where I guess I'm deeply concerned about the precedent being set here, that this is, in my view, an egregious executive branch overreach. I don't believe they have this authority, at least not without the consent of Congress.
This controversy has sparked outrage. Hundreds of protesters, including U.S. senators and representatives, gathered outside the U.S. Capitol, voicing their opposition to President Trump and advisor Elon Musk's efforts.
This is not about demonizing a political party. It is about telling the truth about Donald Trump's actions and Elon Musk's actions. Don't just have a voice if you're a billionaire. You have a voice.
Until 2 weeks ago, there was a malaria team with world experts, and they are gone.
The United States gives a lot of money to improve the capacity of different governments around the world so that they can manage problems that eventually reach the United States. So that includes diseases like Ebola. It also includes security, trafficking, piracy. That if they get stopped in West Africa, they never come here. But if we wait, then the problems just get bigger.
Sweden is mourning the victims of its deadliest mass shooting. On Tuesday, a gunman opened fire at campus Risbergska, an adult education center in Obrero, resulting in at least 11 fatalities, including the shooter. Take a look.
The following day, residents, Swedish officials, and members of the royal family attended a memorial service at a nearby church. Prime Minister Ulf Kristersson described the incident as the worst mass shooting in Sweden's history.
No idea. But as I said, an old colleague who I worked with, she has passed away. Then I don't know the rest. But they say it's 10 who have passed away. They have not come out with anyone or anything, so no one knows.
We were near the classroom and I told my friends that I didn't want to be here. I felt something, but I couldn't know what was going to happen. Then when I told them that I didn't want to be here, can we go to the classroom? Yes, and it started there. They said that when he had come into the restaurant, and the restaurant is near the door, and he started to shoot everyone. Until now, we know that 11 died, but I thought it was more, because when they came out, there was chaos.
Flags are at half-staff across Sweden in honor of the victims. The shooter, identified as 35-year-old Rickard Andersson, was found dead at the scene. Campus Risbergska primarily serves immigrants, aiming to improve their Swedish language skills and employment opportunities. Authorities have provided limited information, but confirmed that the attacker had no prior police record and legally owned the firearms used. The motive remains unclear, with no evidence linking him to terrorism or gang affiliations.
As we said yesterday, the suspected perpetrator is one of the deceased, and we are continuing intensive investigative work to understand the circumstances surrounding him and try to create a picture to see if more are involved.
Late Wednesday, multiple media outlets reported that Andersson had been unemployed for a decade and had previously been enrolled at the school. Some reports indicate he shouted racist remarks during the attack. Obrero's mayor stated that the city is in shock and urged patience as investigations continue. Meanwhile, King Carl Gustaf and Queen Sylvia gathered to honor the deceased. A close call at Seattle-Tacoma International Airport. No injuries, but plenty of shock after a Japan Airlines jet clipped the tail of a parked Delta plane while taxiing. The Federal Aviation Administration says it's investigating the incident, which happened in an area not controlled by air traffic. Airport officials confirmed the JAL aircraft struck the Delta jet's tail and say they're working with both airlines to get passengers off safely. JAL says all 185 passengers and crew on board Flight 68, which had just arrived from Narita, are safe. But a passenger on the Delta flight described the moment, saying, "We were parked and then felt a big skid. The JAL plane sliced through our rudder with their wing." A video posted on social media shows the wing of the JAL plane wedged into the Delta's jet tail. A dramatic scene, but thankfully, no one was hurt.
And the news continues here on Net 25. We'll be right back.
It is a signal to the world that we are open for business.
Sabado at Linggo, 8 to 9 a.m. Dito lang yan sa Net 25. Ito ang tahanan. Ako po si Ate Sherilyn.
Tensions in the Democratic Republic of Congo remain high as the government dismisses a unilateral ceasefire declared by Rwanda-backed rebels in the east of the country, calling it false communication. Now, this comes after the rebels seized control of the city of Goma last week.
The situation on the ground is dire. Vivian Van Dempier, the deputy UN envoy in Congo, shared this grim update.
So far, 2,000 bodies have been collected from the Goma streets in recent days, and 900 bodies remain in the morgues of the Goma hospitals. We do not think that number would not go up. We expect this number to go up.
With morgues overflowing and power cuts preventing refrigeration, the need to bury the dead quickly has become urgent. Most mortuaries are located in hospitals, raising serious concerns about the spread of disease to patients and healthcare workers.
So it has been a race against time to find burial sites, and it remains a race against time because identifying the body is becoming increasingly difficult. Each passing day makes our task even harder.
The human cost of this conflict is staggering. Julian Zainab Barabara, a mother who lost her child in an explosion, shared her heartbreaking story.
We were at home when we heard an explosion. We were on the front veranda and didn't know where it had landed. The children we thought were inside were actually outside. They were hit by bomb shrapnel. The oldest, who was 15, managed to call their older sister, who was in the kitchen. When she arrived, she screamed loudly. So we ran there and found the child on the ground bleeding.
Hospitals are overwhelmed. The Red Cross-run facility in Goma is treating twice as many patients as it has beds for, and supplies are running dangerously low.
Inside the room, we found bullets or shrapnel that had destroyed the walls. If someone had been there, they would have died.
Despite reports of sporadic shooting and looting, civilians are slowly returning to Goma. However, with over 500,000 displaced by the fighting, the scale of the humanitarian crisis is still unfolding.
A Japanese man's pandemic pastime has blossomed into much more than just a hobby. With vegetable prices hitting record highs, his backyard garden is now helping feed his family and inspiring thousands online. Take a look.
37-year-old Kazuki Nakata carefully tends to his plants in the small yard outside his home in Kawasaki, Japan. What started as a hobby during the COVID-19 pandemic has become a valuable source of fresh produce for his family as he grows his own vegetables. Cabbage prices in Japan made headlines this month in Tokyo, soaring to 1,000 yen, or nearly $6.50, around the average minimum hourly wage. The staple crop is one of many items driving up the cost of living in a country with stagnant wages. As the cost of living rises, Nakata's family feels the financial benefits of homegrown food more than ever.
I didn't start out with my family's finances in mind, but when I think of how much it helps with the household budget now that prices are going up, I'm glad I got into this hobby.
In 2023, Nakata left his job at an electronics store to focus on growing vegetables. He grows 47 types of vegetables, including lettuce, onions, and daikon radishes, in empty plastic bottles, drink cans, and even his bicycle basket. Nakata also created a YouTube channel where he posts videos about it. It gained around 4,500 new subscribers in the second half of January alone. With vegetable prices where they are, Nakata says the interest is understandable.
Whenever I upload a video, there are loads of positive comments saying things like, "Wow," or "I want to try this too." But I also get comments like, "This is really important now that vegetables are so expensive." So I get the feeling that everyone is becoming aware of the issue.
Recent government data show that while agriculture prices have risen, the average vegetable intake among Japanese adults reached an all-time low in November. The Nakata family, however, is going against the trend. They say they're eating more fresh vegetables than ever before.
I feel like the taste of vegetables you've grown from seeds is so many times better than normal. These vegetables are grown with love, so they're different.
And with that, we end tonight's broadcast. For everyone here on Net 25, I'm Alma Angeles. Thanks for joining us. Good night.